Let me begin this session with reciting the district mission statement. We build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. Today, we explore how to take our clubs to the next level by empowering members, amplifying impact, and strengthening leadership. At the heart of this growth lies one key element, our club's identity. We are honored to have with us our distinguished speaker, Toastmaster ArunKumar, basically a principal firmware engineer at Logitech. Am I audible? Yes. With over 14 years of professional experience, a passionate Toastmaster since 2019, and member of Chennai Wordsmith Toastmasters Club. Arun has served as Division B Director and District PRM in District 120, where the district achieved splendidly distinguished status 2 years in a row. His signature Canva for All initiative empowered over 100 clubs with peer resources that continues to be used widely today. Now, this evening, he will speak on Identity Matters, the power of club branding, in which we will gain insight to build a strong and memorable club brand, tips to enhance member engagement, and strategies to boost visibility and recognition. So, friends, fasten your seatbelts, open your minds, and get ready to unlock the true potential of your club. But before we proceed further, it is my privilege to invite District PR Manager DTM Manikandan to share a few words with us. DTM Manikandan, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, Toastmaster Ajit Kumar. What a wonderful start. Good evening, respected District Director, Program Quality Director, Club Growth Director, the Facilitator, Toastmaster Arun, fellow leaders and members of District 105. How's the Josh? After two back-to-back educational sessions, and here we are at the third educational event for the day. How's the Josh? I'm sure it must be high, and I'm sure our facilitator is going to keep the Josh even more higher when he comes in. So as your PR manager, I'm really delighted to welcome you all to this exciting session on the theme, Identity Matters, the power of club branding. Let me start with a quick story. Have you ever wondered why people are so drawn to Apple products, even when there are dozens of alternatives? It's not just about the technology, it's about the experience. Apple has built a brand that stands for simplicity, elegance, and innovation. From the moment you see the logo to the moment you unbox a product, you know exactly what to expect. And that's the power of a well-defined identity. Now imagine in our Toastmasters club, if we have had the same clarity, what if guests walked in instantly and felt the club energy? What if the guests have felt fun, professionalism, creativity, and empowerment? Our club brand is more than just a name or a logo. It is the feeling that people get when they walk in to attend meetings. It's the story that we share. It's the culture that we build, and it's how we show up as a true member to the club. So here is my call to action to every one of you. Let's define what makes our club more unique. Let's craft an identity that's authentic, consistent, and memorable. So, are we ready, Toastmasters? I'm sure we are. I once again extend a warm welcome to every one of you in this forum today for taking out your time and being with us. Learn to grow together, we soar. With that note, I hand over the stage back to our wonderful Master of Ceremony, Toastmaster Ajit Kumar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, PRM. And now for your inspiring words. And truly, as our district tagline says, together we soar. Now, without further delay, please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Toastmaster ArunKumar. I also request you to hold your questions till our Q&A moderator, Toastmaster Subia Mushir, take over the session after the presentation. And thank you, and the stage is yours, Toastmaster Arun.
So much, Toastmaster Ajit. I also take this opportunity to thank the District 105 PR to.
Arun, you are on mute.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ajit. It's my privilege to be part of this District 105 initiative. I'm really, really excited. Thank you so much, Ramanujam, for referring my name for this particular session. And thanks, Toastmaster Manigandan, for having the trust. Okay, so it's the first time for me at District 105. So I thought like, okay, let me start with some icebreaker. Maybe the first poll question that I want to ask is basically just want to understand this audience. And can you pull in this first question, Manikandan? Yes. Just wanted to know how many people are actually active here. With online, it's been really, really difficult that like whether they are there listening to us, not listening to us, it's been very, very hard. So amazing. Great. Oh, excellent. So I see about 25+%, 10+ years of experience, 25+ in 5 to 9 years, and 40% in 2 to 4 years, and 9% in just starting out. So great. Really looking forward to have this session where I'm going to share with people across different experience. So the next question is probably just to know, are you coming in from corporate club or the institutional club or the community club? So Manikandan, can you pull the second question? Amazing. So again, a lot of weightage to community clubs. So we have a lot of community clubs, 56%, others about 40%, 4% of corporate clubs. Excellent. We can end the poll. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Kindly confirm if you're able to see my screen.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes.
No? Okay,
Yes.
got it. Amazing. Good evening again. It's fantastic again to be part of this great session. So just to reiterate whatever Ajit has introduced, I'm an electrical and electronics engineer, principal firmware engineer at Logitech. Something that he did not tell is like I'm father of 2 daughters who always outsmart me, and like I'm married to a dentist. So it's been almost 6 years since I joined Toastmasters, and I'm a district finalist. So really looking forward to this great session. And people always identify me as somebody who is very patient, meticulous, and sometimes stone-faced as well. So the reason why I wanted to share this before even getting started is, if I had just turned off my video, a computer voice coming and telling you, okay, I'm going to be giving a session on this club identity, probably you will all close this window and then go. All of us have identity. Each one of us, whether we like it or not, either you give that identity or somebody perceive that identity. That's how the identity really, really works. Now, there are 14,000 plus Toastmasters club across the globe. And why should anyone choose your club? You could feel free to put it in your chat. There are so many clubs across. And why should anyone choose your club? You could put it on the chat. Yes. I'll wait for the answers, but like let me go ahead. Now, I don't know how Manikandan got the first slide from mine. Apple again, like everybody knows that like when you talk about brand identity, Apple is the one that comes into our mind. It's been so many years since since Steve Jobs left us, but still Apple's craze for phone and like our craze for Apple is still stronger. And Apple did not become Apple just by selling phones. They did what Manikandan said. It was investing on the experience and they built that identity. And similarly, this company, I have not put the company's name, but I hope all of you know. What's the company's name? Okay, Starbucks. Starbucks is again a coffee company, and like as you know, there are so many millions of coffee making companies or like coffee shops that we have street to street. But why does Starbucks have this identity? Why does Starbucks have this reach where everybody talks about Starbucks? Everybody wants to have coffee there. Everybody wants to even hold that cup and like bring back that cup to their country and say like, okay, I had Starbucks. I had a coffee in Starbucks Malaysia, Starbucks Oman, Starbucks Singapore, Starbucks Malaysia. So the reason why we do that is because of, again, the identity that they were able to create. So today we are going to talk a lot about this club identity. The identity is not just specific to one single thing. Like it ranges from people, brands, clubs, everything that we see needs identity. The only problem with identity is that like if you don't define your identity, others will do it for you. And most of the time that they will not be doing it right. I repeat it again, if you don't define your club's identity, others will do it for you and they may get it wrong. Without a distinct identity, a club risks being just another face in the crowd. Just as I said earlier in this presentation, there are 14,000 different clubs across this globe. Now, if you don't have identity, it's going to be very, very hard for anybody to understand what this club is all about. Now, there are 14 regions, 130 districts, 14,833 clubs as on date, and District 105 has 130 clubs. If you could just unmute and say one identity that you think your club has and you're so proud of it, what that identity is. Moderator, if we can have them unmuted. Yeah.
Energetic Vibe, Toastmaster Arun.
Yeah. Energy. Can you repeat it again? Hello. There are so many clubs, but what's that one identity that you think your club is having and that you're really, really proud of? Anybody can answer, even the moderators, the PR manager, your club.
The kind of energy, the kind of environment that we set up.
Amazing. Environment, energy. What else?
The kind of people around.
How we accommodate the new guests.
Amazing. So how you treat the new guest is something that you're really proud of, Toastmaster Ajit Kumar. Great. Now, across the globe, something that is very common is the same agenda, the same prepared speech session, the table topics, evaluation. So it's all same. Everywhere you go across the globe, it's the same. It's the same promise. It's the same grammarian coming and giving you the word of the day. It's the same timer who comes and gives the report. The same educational system, everybody follows pathways, the same mission and same values. Now, what really, really matters is why somebody thinks that your club is the club that I wanted to join. And that's where this club identity plays a huge, huge role and an important role. Before this, can I have the next poll, Toastmaster Manigandan? Yeah. So according to you, what do you think is the club identity all about? Okay. Great. I have pretty much everybody saying that unique experiences that members and guests consistently feel when they interact with the club is what they think as club identity. And some of you, or like one person has mentioned that flyers and templates. Most of the time, people think club identity is directly involving PR, just PR. Public relations takes care of the club identity. They decide, okay, our club is gonna have website, our club is gonna have flyers. We are gonna be showing that in Instagram. We're gonna be talking about it in different media. But more than that, club identity is all about the whole of the things that we talked about. It's not just about logo. It's not just about the club name. It's not just about the flyers. It's not just about the templates that you create and the information that you put on the websites. It's all about the unique experiences that members get and the guests get consistently. It's not about 1 week you getting it and the next four weeks you did not give that kind of experience. It's about getting that consistent experience. And whenever they feel they interact with your club, they feel that same energy and same kind of things. That's what the club identity is all about. Now, why this club identity is very, very critical? Why is it so important? I'll tell you before this, I just want to tell you one important thing. So we talked about there are so many clubs across the globe and so many people would be confused which club to choose. Usually, I'll give you one practical example that I have. I have a cousin or like a identical twin who is a cousin, and like every single time when I go talk to that person, I get confused who is that X and Y, because I always think X as Y and Y as X, and then converse with them and then realize that like, okay, it's not that person. They look identical. And that's what happens with clubs also. We all think that every single club across the globe is identical. They have the same agenda, same things. But as soon as you realize that you converse with those kind of clubs, as soon as you attend their meetings, as soon as you go a little further in involving with the club members, you realize that although they look identical, they are not identical. They are completely different. They are different in the way the people interact. They are different in the way the member experiences. They are different in the way the stories that they tell you through the members, the tone, the voice, the message that they are trying to say, the rituals and traditions that they have in the club, the system that they follow, the values that they have. For example, there are clubs where they always give high five as soon as somebody enters their hall. They make it a habit that somebody stands there, gives high five or hug or whatever, and ensure that that tradition is maintained every single time. So a club's identity is like that. Although at the surface level, you might think all of these clubs are part of Toastmasters and follow the same rules and regulations and has the same kind of things. If you dissect and go understand each of the club, every single club is uniquely different. The most important question that we need to ask ourselves is that unique difference, is it something that we intended, or it's something that has happened by accident, or something that we are not at all anticipating, but they are having their own perceptions? That's where the main question or the answer lies. And as soon as we understand that part, it's going to be very, very easy for us to draft through what our club identity is and how are we going to go forward with this. Now, why this critical in Toastmasters? Because we all talk about Toastmasters. The club growth director would be really talking a lot about retentions and ensuring that like, okay, we need to have members continuing their Toastmasters journey, being there for a very long time. One thing that I can tell you is the main reason for retention for any club would be their club identity. Any club for that matters, if they have not discovered their club identity and has not consistently worked on their club identity, you will find that they are struggling one day or the other. Because the club identity is going to help attract the right fit members. It's going to tell who is going to be part of your club. And any guest coming into the club within a second or a minute will have that vibe to say that, okay, this is the club that I wanted to be part of, because the identity is pretty clear for them. Number two, it shapes the club culture and helps in retention of the members. This is again very important, because if you don't have the club identity, you will not know what your club culture is, and you will not be able to retain the member, because members are getting confused. They always have this question of, okay, am I fitting in this particular group? I thought something different, and this club is completely different. And when that realization happens for the member, it's almost 6 months, or like it's almost 1 year, and then like the retention is going to be off. And definitely they will realize, okay, it's not the club that I wanted to join. So they not only leave the club, most of the time they leave Toastmasters itself. So the club identity plays a huge important role in ensuring that somebody continues their Toastmasters journey. If they are not in the right set of people, it's almost certain that they are not going to be continuing Toastmasters. But when you are having that club identity, when you attract the same members, when you have that club culture that you like, it's going to increase your pride and belongingness. And when you do that, you're going to enjoy every single meeting. You're going to have fun. You're going to have that family-like atmosphere, and ultimately, which will result in a better result. And when you don't have that club identity, every single guest coming in is going to be confused. They're going to be confused. Is it this kind of a club? Is it a leadership club? Is it a communication club? Is it a club that is going to be focusing more on humor? Is it going to be a club that encourages experimentation? So a lot of these questions comes to the members, and that's when people try to ask those questions, and most often they get rejected, or like most often they get denied. And that would indulge in kind of lack of focus for the members. They would not give speeches. They would not try to go forward in their meetings, and like they would stop attending the meetings itself, which will result in poor retention rate and shows poor results for the district and the divisions as well. Now, how could we probably manage this part? There are different ways in which we could do this. But before that, maybe one question that I want to ask is, like, who actually shapes the identity of the club? Whose responsibility is that? We talk about this club identity, but like, who should take care of it? Can we launch the poll, Manikanda? Next question, poll 5. Next one. We can skip this one. We can go to the next one. Poll 5. True. So as I said, it's important that we have to ensure that all the other things are taken care, but who shapes the identity of the club? I'm seeing a lot of S for leaders, some for members, and some all of the above. Now, somebody, can you unmute and say, like, how does leaders lead this identity of the club? How can leaders come and tell this is how we want to have, or like this is how we want to shape the identity of the club? All the members and XCOM build it over time. Okay. I think we need to unmute them. Yeah. Okay.
Am I audible, Toastmaster
Yes,
Arun?
Shamsa.
Alright.
Yes.
I believe that leaders of the club would shape the identity of the club, because not just the members, but it's the leaders who shape the standard of how their meetings go through, and mainly not the guest, because guests, we shouldn't rely on the guests for how to shape the identity of our club. So I believe the leaders should be the one who would spearhead the identity of how to shape the identity of the club. Thank you, Toastmaster.
How do you think that the leaders would be able to shape the identity of the club? Can anyone say how the leaders can do that?
I think it's all about how you behave, or maybe see, even starting with how you come for a meeting. So when a club officers comes to meeting on time or before the time, start meeting on time, or they dress like a professional, it all brand, I think, shows the club's identity. If the leaders, if they come very casually, they come late, and that also shows the club's identity. That's what I feel.
Okay, so pretty much you said about the leaders leading from the front automatically transforms into how the club identity gets built over the time. Amazing. Now let's talk a little bit about this, why this actually matters, because we know that like it's going to be built over the time. We know that like at the initial stage it might be very difficult for us to identify what we really need, what's the need of the members that we have, and like how do we shape it. But over the period, as you mentioned, like we will be able to identify that this is the need that the members have, and like we need to work on it and get this done. But the identification of what needs for the members and why this really matters is so important, that like if a member comes in and if a guest comes in and like as soon as they see that the club is very fun oriented and like they are giving all sorts of energy, vibe and everything, their first impression is really good, and that's where the identity plays a huge role. And if the first impression is lost, just like what we discussed in MOT, what we discuss usually in MOT, if the first impression is lost, it's going to be a loss. That member will not be coming in as a member anytime into the club. So identity is really an important aspect, and this matters the most because first impression lasts longer time. And in a space where there are so many clubs, so many community clubs, the differentiation is going to be playing a huge role, and that's where the identity comes into picture. And consistency is one of the main factor here, because there are clubs which has plants. The leaders come in, say like, okay, we are going to do this. They try to do that for the 3 months, 4 months period, 5 months period, but later point of time they realize that okay, the new XCOM takes over and they forget everything else, and they don't do anything. And that's where a lot of clubs loses, because they have their identity, they have built it over the years, but the new XCOM comes in and they forget everything, and that's it. A big blocker comes in. And that's where I feel like when you have identity, the consistency plays a very, very, very major role, that the transition has to happen from one XCOM member to another XCOM member, and this continues as a legacy. And the other important aspect is attracting the right members. When we have this club identity, it's easy for the right members to come and join the clubs. I can give you one example of a club that we have in District 120. So this was a club that was chartered in the mindset that, okay, we will have some senior leaders from different corporates coming together and start a club. And the club is predominantly comprising of senior leaders. And when they go attend the meeting, it's very professional, and like they talk about corporate leadership, how they struggled, how they improved, etc. As soon as a guest goes there, they identify if that club is something that would be a right fit in for them or not, because that identity is very clear in every single member who is part of the club. So similarly, if any club that has a very good identity, the members choose the club very easily, and at the same time the club can also identify if they would be the right members coming and joining the club. And it protects your reputation, because a clear identity avoids confusion. There is alignment in the messaging that you have, and every single leader coming across in the club will also know what is something that they have to do in the coming weeks or months or years to grow. And it always drives growth and retention. Any club, it always ensures that the growth is pretty seamless and they never get into a state where they are struggling. Now, there is a framework that I think would really work when it comes to club identity. There are 3 pillars that we need to ensure so that the club identity is very good for any of the clubs, starting with values and cultures. If you have a club The club has to have its own values and have to have its own culture. This is built over the time, built by the leaders, built by the mission and vision that they have, and the vision that they have towards the members of the club. The second part or the second pillar is people and leadership. Every single club has these people and the leaders coming out of that club who play a major role in ensuring that whatever is the club identity today, it goes one step higher, or the bar always gets raised. That's something that people do every single time. And if right people and right leadership is there in your club, it ensures that the club identity still grows stronger and stronger every single year. And the third most important aspect is public relations and engagement. This is pretty important because every single time we talk about values, culture, people, leadership, you bring it on and you have everything in your club. But if it is not well spoken out, if we do not advertise for ourselves, it's going to be very hard for somebody to understand your club culture, your club values, your people, your leaders. So it's very important that the public relations and engagement is also taken care to build this club identity. Now, let me give one example. Let's call this club called Experiment to Excel Toastmasters Club. So this is a newly formed club, and the culture of the club and the value of the club is something that is devised. The club is known for encouraging experimentation, and they greet with high fives at the doors. They celebrate small wins every single time, no matter how small, how minor the win is. They always celebrate, and they always encourage to do something different. They have something called try something new segment, where they say, no matter what, if it's not even tried before, you come experiment it. We are there to encourage. If they have this kind of a set of rules or set of cultures, set of values, the members clearly know that what they can expect out of that club. And then the leadership also plays an important role, where they kind of gives you that from the leadership point, like they lead it. Basically, the president comes and gives some quirky icebreakers, makes it fun and interesting, make sure that like he experiments every single time when he comes onto the stage. VP always gives a personal feedback. He need not be an evaluator, but every single time for every speaker in the club, he ensures that he comes and gives a personal feedback. And senior members mentors the juniors and have a special mentor meets every single month. And once a year, they also have past members come and give sessions, how they improved, what's the club's legacy, etc. So you have value and culture, you have people and leadership who try to explain this, and like who also play an important role in ensuring that this is carried forward. And then you have the public relation team, which ensures that the appreciation and achievement happens consistently. They give standing ovations for every single level completions, and like they put that images out. They also give that special contests and trainings and leadership trainings, family events once in a month. So there is some kind of public relations events that go hand in hand with this kind of things as well. So now you know that the club name is also in same sync with whatever the club is doing. So when you have that kind of identity where you're saying that your club is an experimental club where you can come and experiment, and you do it every single week consistently, and your leadership explains it, and like be there as an exemplary leader there, I think that's where the club identity will start to grow. Clear? Now, imagine this for different types of club, be it be humorous club, be it be a club where you are promoting leadership, be it be a club where you're promoting it for speakers, champions, etc. So if you have that kind of three important framework of values and cultures, people and leadership, and public relations to promote it, I think that's where it's going to be of great success. Now, as I mentioned, it's the leaders, the members, and sometimes the guests who also shape the identity of the club, because they reflect who you are
The facilitator has lost connection.
Oh, we lost the connection.
Ajit is joining back. There is a power cut.
Yeah.
He's joining back. Participant, the chat window is open. If you can feel free to type your questions in the chat. The Q&A moderator will filter it out and then she'll put it across to the facilitator. Can you check your chat?
Yes. And Toastmaster Arun is here now.
Apologies, there was an internet disconnection system just on my side. Okay. Just a moment. Just sharing my screen, just 1 minute. So it's the leaders, the members, and the guests who ensure that the identity of the club is reached. Now, if you really look at the pyramid of this, the base members, the members are the ones who ensures that the club identity is retained. Like, they are the culture carriers, they are the storytellers, they are the experience builders, they are the brand ambassadors. Without them, it's not going to be possible for any club to have their own club identity. But it's the executive committee or the leaders in the club who is going to define and align that identity. They design the experiences, like VPE, VPM, VPPR, the surgeon at arms who comes and greets every single day. These are the people who are going to be ensuring that they define and align that identity. They protect the reputation. Every single time, if there is any reputational crisis, it's the VPPR who comes and says, okay, we cannot do that. We don't probably want to do this kind of a flyer or things like that. So it's the executive committee that defines and aligns the identity, and together this base members and the executive committee together form this club identity, the living experience of the club, what guest comes and sees, what they perceive, and the promise that makes the club unique and unforgettable. Now, every single club, as soon as they form, we always talk about like how we would be differentiating from others and like how we want to create this identity. But these are the 4 different ways in which, or like different steps in which you attain that. Like, first, the club promise. First, as a member, as a club, you decide that, okay, this is the minimum that we would be giving as a club. This is the club promise. As a club, I want to do that. I want to ensure that our club members are somebody who would attain this in their journey of Toastmasters. And once you have that, they get into the club culture. And once they have the club culture and they get that experience of the club, then they get the perception that we wanted to show to the outside world. So it's a 4-step process where like you give the club promise, then the culture, then the experience, and then finally the brand perception happens. The important aspect of club identity is that like club identity doesn't help you to compete. It always helps you to collaborate. Now, for example, when you know for sure that this is the club that is best suited for this person, you don't want to compete with that person, and you would rather say like the best club for you is this club. I would rather want to tell somebody that, okay, if you are looking for humorous growth, or like you want to be a stand-up comedian, or somebody who wants to be a great humorous speaker, probably this is the club that you can look forward, because this club is something that excels in humor. Every single speaker out there in the club is very humorous, and they can give you so much of knowledge. The mentors would be really great there. So instead of us thinking ourselves as somebody compete with each and every club across the district, we would start to collaborate better. So every single guest coming into your club, you know where exactly you would be want to push them into, or like tell them into joining the club. And we also get this opportunity to learn from different clubs with different strengths. It's not concentrated as like one single club having a lot of different experience, but you know for sure there are different clubs with different strengths, and you can cross collaborate and have learnings across the district. Division and district has wide variety when we do this, and when there is a joint meeting or like a joint conferences, we see that there is so much of fun when we come together. So identity does not help you to compete, but identity helps you to collaborate much more better. Now, there are people who come and ask, like, you talk about club identity, what are the different club identity possibilities are? Like, how can I say that my club has this club identity? For that, I would say like there are various ways in which you can think, and only the creativity is something that is going to stop you. You can have infinite options when you really think at like how your club can be positioned. For example, there are clubs which focus more on creating champion speakers, want to be focused more on contests. There are clubs which are social. They say like, okay, I just want to meet once in a month or twice in a month and just enjoy, have fun, ensure that it's very light-hearted discussions that we want to have. Probably want to meet in some hotels and like have discussions. and then have a friendly personal storytelling kind of speeches, etc. There are clubs which wants to really have humor as the core, and like every single thing, even the TMOD, the table topic speaker, table topics that we have, everything is revolving around fun and humor. So that can be the USP of that particular club. There are clubs that focuses only on storytelling. They really focus like, okay, I'm somebody who wants to be a great corporate storyteller. I want to be a great trainer. I want storytelling to be my art. So they will go find that this club is probably their own best way of getting into what they wanted. And there are some advanced Toastmasters club. There are clubs that can probably be tech specific, where you have a lot of people who are into the technology and talk about technology and stuff, etc. So there are so many options by which we can create our own club identity. And if we identify that and promote that, it would be very, very easy for us to ensure that every single member is able to come and understand what we are doing, and they also try to give as much as possible to the club. Clear? Any questions here? Okay. Now, this is a small task. Probably if you have a pen and paper with you, this is something that I would want to quickly do as an activity. If you were to call your club as a person, what would be your 3 words that you want to describe your club as? If you consider your club as a person, and if you want to describe that person into 3 different words, what would those 3 words be? Those who have completed, you could unmute and probably say what are those 3 words for your club that you have.
Good evening. I would call my club humorous, exciting, and always interesting.
Okay, exciting, humorous, and always entertaining. Okay, great. Amazing, fun, and experience. Great. Fun, collaborative, energetic from Maria. Great. Anyone else? Toastmaster Ajit, how would you describe your club as a person?
You can say enjoy, learn, and improve.
Great, great. So if you really look at a lot of the answers that we have been getting, it's all about energy, excitement, fun, and we want to be humorous. So it's important that like as soon as you kind of talk about your club, you have that kind of personal analogy and see how your club is also going on in the track. Now, for example, when you have that vision of this is the vision that I have for the club, or like this is how I think my club, and if it's not going on that direction, it's easy for us to course correct once we have these 3 words as mantra. So every single club, if we have that 3 mantra and we align with all the members, we align with all the leaders, it becomes easy for us to course correct whenever we go outside our boundary. And often I've been a strong believer that like instead of keeping it very infinite, if we have a boundary and play within the boundary, we would be much, much more successful than keeping it really open. Because keeping it open means you would be very confused. You would try a lot of things which would not be giving you a consistency. But rather, if you have that scope, if you have that boundary through which you would be playing, it's much, much more impactful, and you will find that there is so much of people coming together to help you out. Now, the second thing is like when you look at your club, what's that unique experience that you have in your mind that still that you cherish and you feel that, okay, that is something that I will never forget. That's the best experience that I had in my club. What is that one unique experience that you had in your club that you're still love about?
May I talk, please?
Yeah.
Ashgan Hizam from Itqan Club in Oman.
Yep.
I feel that really I found myself in my Toastmasters club, and the best thing that they give me a strong personality, and they teach me how can I do how can I say my opinion strongly.
Amazing. So this is something a lot of people say. Again, like in Toastmasters, I find myself, or like I found myself in Toastmasters, because a lot of people coming here telling the stories that they have lived through and like sharing their experience, they find new version of themselves. And whenever, one thing that I really loved about Toastmasters is like when I go tell some stories, some message, I know for sure I want to be an example of that as well. So absolutely, that's something that is great. So if you identify that unique experiences, if you collect that unique experiences from each of the members, it's easy for you to identify that identity of your club and define your club promise. For example, guests will always experience this in my club, no matter what. Club will always be supportive. Club will always be encouraging somebody who has joined in as a new members for the first 3 months, no matter what. Club will always ensure that they will train the members the first 3 months, whatever you want to have. If you add those club promise and say like not just Toastmasters promise but your club promise, and outline it and explain that to your guests, your club identity improves a lot. And map your club voice, whether it's formal, casual, serious, fun, or it's warmer, professional, traditional, modern. So if you do that as well, it helps all the members to align with whatever goal that you have, and it ensures that the whole club behaves the same way, or like ensures that people who are inside your club understands what the tone of your club as well is. And once you have all of these information, you could probably sit with your team, or somebody can moderate a brainstorming session in your club where you sit with excom members and the members and sit, talk through, ask all of these questions, and that way you will realize that what exactly is your club identity. And once you identify your club identity, you have to protect it. You have to ensure that every single time you talk about the club identity, and the legacy has to go forward from one to another. Now, the club that lasts don't just survive, they evolve with purpose. And this is something that is true with every single brand out there, members out there. How many of you know this person in wrestling called Rock? Dwayne Rock Johnson. Yeah. So wrestling in 90s, people used to watch a lot, and like he's been a very good sports person there. But as soon as he came into wrestling and came out of wrestling, he made his career into acting, and he became an actor as well. So everybody find their purpose and they evolve. So exactly like that, like the club also evolves. They don't just last, but like they also evolve. And now again, the same question that I want to leave you all with is, there are 14 regions, 130 districts, 14,000 plus clubs. District 105 has 130 clubs. Why should people choose your club? Your club isn't just another Toastmasters club. It's an experience. Showcase that what makes it unforgettable. With a strong identity that you have for your club can transform from one of the many to the one for me. So that's what is so important about club's identity. If you can get that message delivered to all the guests, I think you have done your job in establishing the club identity for your club. With this slide, I'll finish off. Identity is not given, it's created. And what will your club's identity be? Thank you so much. And now I'll open this for the Q&A. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, quickly we will move on to the Q&A moderator, Toastmasters Pia.
Good evening, everyone. And what an amazing session we had. I'm sure you all must be brimming with questions by now. So here comes the Q&A session, which I call Quality and Awesomeness. We are going to elicit some more awesomeness from our speaker today. So we have some questions over here. Let us begin. With so many clubs around, how do we make our club stand out? Toastmaster Arun.
Okay. So that's a very important question to ask for every single ExCom member out there and every single member, because as I said, club's identity is so important for us to differentiate ourselves. The first important aspect that I would really see is like, what kind of members do we have? What's their interest? And which direction is the club moving forward towards? And if we know the answer for all of this and sit together and understand with the members, it's very easy for us to chart out what exactly that the club wants and go in that direction to create the club identity. And once we identify the club identity, it's important that we stick to that and we ensure that we work on that for the next 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, and ensure that every single decision that we take is towards that club identity. And by which you would see that ultimately whatever you have as an vision will also transform, and people will also have the same perception as you think, as you thought. That's how I think you can create your own club identity.
Thank you. I think that will satisfy the Toastmasters who have asked this question. Okay, before I go to the next one, let me brand this question as an excellent one. What are some practical PR strategies a Toastmasters club can use to build and strengthen its unique identity, making it stand out while staying aligned with Toastmasters International's branding?
Okay, there are a lot of things that the club can do. I mean, the most important thing that people do today is like Instagram, Facebook, or like LinkedIn. The important aspect of social media is that like what kind of content goes where. Now, for example, when it's about congratulating somebody, it's a distinguished Toastmaster, and like you want to have them congratulate, then probably that has to go into LinkedIn. And if you're talking about somebody who has given speech and probably you want to give some great words for them, probably you would put that into Instagram. And Facebook is a great medium for you to record photos and like share your videos, etc. So I would say social media is a great asset, and you could probably use social media, or like we could probably use social media to ensure that the club identity is stalked very widely over there. And also there is this testimonials that you could have where people talk about this club identity again and again. For example, a member speaking about why I'm a member of this club for 5 years, why haven't changed this club for 5 years, would really reflect upon the club identity. If you have 10 people talking about it, then that becomes the club identity. So it's important that we show the voices of the members through different mediums, and PR can play a huge role there to ensure that this message is propagated through different social media.
Amazing, very well explained. So we have here another enthusiastic Toastmaster whose question goes as, while a club can have an atmosphere about it, every new member brings a new energy that could be either good or bad. Does that affect the club identity?
Of course, one aspect with respect to members is like in Toastmasters, we always welcome every single member who comes into the club. Like we say that, okay, whether they align towards the club's identity or not, we try to take them into the club. But what we would realize is like, as soon as you have a stronger approach towards your club identity and stick on to the club identity, the right people stick in, other people will leave. All those other people that you're talking about who probably will not be fitting in that club identity will find that they are not in the right circle, right group, and automatically they will find their own way. But if we are not having that club identity, then it becomes difficult for them to take that decision too. So it's all about whether we are sticking into that club identity or keeping it so open so that like we have people across different mindsets coming into one single group.
Great. We have another question from an eloquent and a seasoned Toastmaster. How PR can play? What type of content they can post to have identity and in turn bring more members and retain also growth? Can you list some campaigns?
As I mentioned in the previous question, right? Like one is spotlighting, ensuring that like you spotlight some of the Toastmasters of your club who can talk about your club identity, the pillars of your club, which is the club identity. And you could also have probably a separate milestone event where you could talk about all the legacy that you had. Like every single milestone meeting is a meeting where you want to talk about the club's legacy, but make it a point that like you talk about the club's identity and in that event where previous presidents come and present about like this club's identity and how they have nourished or like how they have found a way in finding this club identity. So talking again and again about the club identity and making sure that those three words is clearly understandable by every single member of the club, your persona of the club. If it's conveyed in a way where every single member is able to resonate, able to understand it, and also play a huge role in making sure they carry forward that, I think that's where the club identity can go to the next level. So us PR activities, you have to find out, or like we have to find out ways in which we can show this through social media. We can show this through different meetings that we can run, like milestone meetings. We could also do events like contests. For example, you could have a contest where you talk about identity and find out like who brings the best out of the club's identity through their speech, right? Like, so a lot of things can be done in identifying that, but the most important thing, as I always said, is social media. You have to talk about the club's identity at the social media, and when the right people come in, the right people will take it to the next level, basically.
Great. So you gave us so many insights about how identity is important. As a VPPR trying to build an identity on digital media, what are the steps you would recommend that I should keep in mind? Asked by a Toastmaster.
Can you repeat the question again?
Sure. As a VPPR trying to build an identity on digital media, what are the steps you would recommend that should be kept in mind?
Okay, this is an excellent question because we have this Toastmasters brand guidelines, which gives us colors, and like there is something that we have to follow, the guidelines to be followed to ensure that we stick on to the brand guidelines. But I would say the club also has to have some kind of guidelines for themselves, because if a club has a wide variety of templates and like the flyers are so different from each one from one to another, it's also very difficult for the member to identify from which club it came in. So I would say one of the important aspect that we have to create in PR is like to ensure that you have an identity that you create for your own club. As soon as they see the posters, they should be able to identify this is from this club, and this club has this kind of tone that they are talking about. This club has this kind of, mostly they would use this kind of images or this kind of backgrounds or this kind of fonts and text. This is how it would probably look like. As soon as that is coming in, it becomes easy for others to give importance to that club. So I could probably list you some of the clubs that's there across the world where they have this identity. As soon as you see the flyer, even if they don't put the club's name, you know that that is coming from that club. So by having that kind of identity, it becomes easy for members to relate to that content, and they will be focusing on the content more.
Right. So any recommendations or best practices to boost identity?
Okay. So there are so many things that we could do to boost the identity. The first aspect, as I said, is like finding your identity. A lot of clubs fail in the first aspect where they don't find their identity. They think that this is the identity, but actually that's not something that is perceived by the members. So having that small audit within the XCOM to see what their identity is and whether the guests are perceiving that identity is the first step towards identifying whether there is a problem that lies in the club or not. Once the problem is understood, then then there are many steps that you can take to ensure that the club identity can reach to the members. But for all of these to happen, first find out the identity. Ensure that the guests and the members are able to perceive the identity that you have. And the third one would be to ensure that if they perceive the right identity, you promote it furthermore, that more members get to know about your club identity.
Great. Ignoring the red color for a few minutes, can I go to the next question because we are really brimming with it. My chart is overflowing. How does orienting new members help them connect with and reflect our club's identity?
This is a very important question because we have scripts given by Toastmaster about new member orientation. Probably we read it and then we say that, okay, the new member orientation is done. VPE comes up with pathways. There are certain aspects that we would want to add and we give it. But what's the legacy or the club's information that you add to the new member orientation? How are you connecting your club's legacy into the new member orientation so that the new members coming into the club clearly understands the history of the club and also understands the vision that the club has? And that way, I think during the new member orientation itself, they will have a clear picture of whether this club is going to help them go towards the goal that they want to or not. Now, if we fail in giving that information of the legacy of the club and like what the club is looking forward from the member and what the club's identity is not revealed if to the members, then that's where the problem happens, because member thinks separately what the club is all about and the club thinks the otherwise. And when they get to know that it's quite different, that's where the problem comes in. So it's always important that we align this in the new member orientation itself.
Great. Now, how does understanding your identity shape the way you lead, communicate, and connect with others?
Again, I think I brought this up in the presentation itself. Like, we live in a world where there is so much of infinite things that we can do. Your club can do anything and everything today, but from there, you put a boundary for yourself. You put a small rectangle or a square to say that this is what my club is. And once you know that this is what my club is, it becomes much more easy for you to focus what you want to do. So that your educational session, for example, you don't want to do everything in your club. Once you know the boundary, you know exactly what you want to give to the members. Otherwise, there is huge number of lists that you can take up and like you can give session by session, but it's not going to be connected to the members at all, because the members want to do something different and like you're giving something different. So the club identity puts everything into a small rectangular box or a square box. And within that boundary, when you play, there is more focus, there is more strength, there is more clarity for the members, and they all get into one single line of alignment. And that's where the growth really happens. When it is all floating, everywhere somebody is trying to do something different, that's where it dilutes a lot of things and it becomes really hard for people to understand. So keeping everything to one single alignment is happening through the club identity. And if we can focus on the club identity, everything will solve by itself.
Awesome. I'm so grateful for all your answers. And I see the red light before it starts giving out fire. Let me just convey to all of you that the speaker will be staying with us after the session is adjourned. If we can have the question answer sessions continue at that time. As of now, I would like to hand over the session to the screen to our MC, Toastmaster Ajit Kumar. Please, the screen is yours, sir.
Thank you, Toastmaster Subia. And as Toastmaster Subia said, the Toastmaster Arun will be available even after the session. And in case if anyone want to ask any questions, you are free to stay back and ask. And now, thank you, Toastmaster Arun, for that insightful and inspiring session on identity matters, the power of club branding. You have shown us that branding is not just about visuals or slogans. It's about the experience, the value, and the identity that our club creates for the members and the community. Now, let me please invite our peer manager, DTM Manikandan, to felicitate Toastmaster Arun.
Thank you, Toastmaster Arun, for accepting the invite and being part of this wonderful educational session, imparting a lot of learning and knowledge to each one of us. It's truly inspiring, and we have a lot of takeaways with respect to branding after your session. So please accept our e-certificate as a token of gratitude. Thank you once again, Toastmaster Arun.
Thank you so much.
Next, I would like to thank our Master of Ceremony, Toastmaster Ajit Kumar, for anchoring this session throughout. Thank you, Toastmaster Ajit.
Thank you,
Our
DK
Q&A
Mani.
moderator, Toastmaster Subia Mushir, for collating all those questions and putting it forward to Toastmaster Arun. Thank you, Toastmaster Subia. Last but not the least, the timer, Toastmaster Gokul Kumar. Thank you for your invaluable support. With that note, I thank each and every one of you and hand over the session back to our wonderful Master of Ceremony.
Thank you, PRM. And now, thank you to all the participants for being here. And as we take these learnings back to our clubs, let us remember our guiding spirit. Together we soar. And through continuous learning and action, we achieve progress to prosper. And let's continue the journey of unlocking our club's true potential. And with this note, I declare the session adjourned. And now